So I guess first of all, in terms of this quarterback competition that's going on right now, I guess how do you feel about that group going into fall camp?
Oh, really excited. Excited to be able to have Justin Lampson added to the mix. I think Chance and Patrick had really good spring sessions, and Justin was around for a lot of it, but not able to do anything. So to really make it a three-way battle, we're excited. Those guys have had a great summer and ready to just put themselves into this team and in this fall camp.
What are you kind of looking at from an evaluation perspective just to see kind of who steps up in that starting role?
Well, a lot of tangible things that keep track of a lot of completion percentage aspects, decision making, accuracy, and then you're just eyeballing who can pull the call and go play, and who's leading, who's being vocal. Those are some of the main things. Who's great in the meeting room? We get on the board a lot and put these guys through, kind of put them in the hot seat, and I think getting guys on the board kind of reveals what they know, and being able to explain things and process information, and so it's a lot of different things that go into it. But in the end, we're going to be able to make a decision, and I feel pretty good about the process that we're embarking on.
How much are you and the staff just focusing on how much Justin earns it, or the key of earning the job if he ends up getting it?
Yeah, I mean, you have to earn it. Nothing's going to be given. This is way too good of a program for someone to come in. I mean, I think we've recruited well. I mean, Chance and Patrick are here for a reason. But to have someone like Justin, who's played at a really high level, he played in 24 games at Stanford, I think definitely merits some attention. But he's, in a way, he's starting from scratch with us, and that really started earlier than today. But now it's for real. And so he's absolutely going to have to earn it. And Chance and Patrick are highly competitive, and they're definitely not going to lay down at all.
You guys had a lot of time, obviously, on the field, but what have you seen tangibles and then also maybe leadership wise on?
Yeah, well, he's a guy that can run the football. He's got a good, smooth release. He's accurate. We've been able to see a lot of that throughout the summer. He's strong. He's got good size. He's kind of a combination. Of a guy that can be a pocket quarterback, but a guy that can take off and run and extend plays. He's been under center. He's been in the gun. He's done different things. +1 run game. So I think he's pretty well balanced in what his abilities are. And then personality-wise, he definitely checks the box. I mean, he's got the it factor. I think the guys have taken to him pretty well, which is really important. You got to have a guy that has a presence. You want a guy with a presence that's kind of an alpha dog, and I think Justin has that. I think the other guys that are vying for the job have it too. That's what makes it a competition.
You talk about the competitiveness. What's the identity kind of becoming of that quarterback room?
Well, one thing I told them last night, because we went through kind of this list of expectations, and the one thing I want them to support each other. It's never going to turn into a negative thing. That's not going to exist in our room. There's only one guy that gets to start, but that's one thing I wanted to make apparent to them, that they are supportive of each other. But beyond that, everything they can do for themselves individually, to kind of overflow into the rest of the offense, they got to be able to do. And they're going to get their reps. And we're changing up who's going with the ones and the twos and the threes. When you got three of them, you got to be able to work it that way. And we're going to change that up as we go along. But it's just, it's everything. Everything's being tracked, everything's being filmed. And, when you have three guys, you got to make sure you're repping them as much equally as you can. But the identity piece is just competition and what those guys bring to the table, and they kind of decide that. I mean, I can have an idea, but the guys in the room got to be able to pull the trigger and go compete. And it's day one, but like I said, I mean, this started before today, so I've seen it all summer. We're just kind of taking a step up and really officially getting it going.
Since spring ball, how have you seen Patrick and Chance kind of take a next step or maybe grow?
Well, just being vocal. I mean, that's one thing that I wanted from them in spring ball. And everybody talks about leading by vocally and by example. Well, everybody should lead by example. I mean, that's like a baseline thing. So, and I told them that last night as well. But they have to be vocal. They got to be able to talk. It's not just calling plays at the line of scrimmage. It's coaching their teammates up, encouraging when their guys need to be encouraged, leading with competent information. They got to be able to coach their own teammates up. And I always talk to them like when we're drawing plays up on the board. I tell them you have to be able to draw it up as if you're teaching your teammates. So that's one of the things I think they've just grown. With some of the things that are kind of new aspects to the offense, because we're definitely carrying a huge amount over. But blending some things that I've been able to bring that Coach Fegan's let me bring in here, and just the competency with that and applying it to what we're doing in practice, and we'll be able to see that as the days come.
Good.
Sorry. Do you have a timeline, like date in mind you want to make a decision by?
Well, August 30th.
Right.
Yeah. No, not really yet. We got a great resource in Coach Megan, and that's kind of an ongoing conversation. I think every day it'll be, here's how the guys did, but right now, with I kind of just told the guys we've got like this odd balance where we have some time just in general, but then we don't. It's not spring ball. It's not March and April, so we do have. There's a ticking clock. So at some point we'll make that decision, but we haven't pinpointed anything yet.
Coming into an offense without a quarterback as a solidified starter, how difficult does that make your job? Bringing in your style of offense. I'm assuming you want to bring your offense to a specific quarterback. So how difficult is that make it for you?
In some ways it's not difficult because if you had a guy that had been entrenched in the exact offense and I was going to bring in some new things, not that there would be pushback, but you'd have someone that would have to change what they were just doing as a starter. So I think that's one advantage coming in is having guys that they're going to be open to whatever I do want them to do that's different, and trying to find out how that fits, what identity piece we really are. But I don't see it as a disadvantage. I think it's more of an advantage to have guys that are just probably a little more open-minded than if you had a guy that was, kind of just so well-versed in the offense he didn't want anything to change. And I haven't seen anything like that from the guys that have been here.
Any kind of wrinkles or changes of evolutions of the offense since spring ball so far?
Yeah, I mean, there's always like this constant stacking plays on plays and being progressive. And if there's something good we did in spring, what's the next step that we can take with that? And not everything's like that, but I'm always looking for what else we can do. And it might be for game 4 or game 8, or it might be for game 1. And I love the freedom to be able to do that kind of schematic freedom, and coach hasn't put too much of a governor on me yet. So I think that's like a constant for me. And I think that makes it exciting for the players, like, well, what are we going to come up with this week? And they'll see that as we get into the season, but I'm big on that. I mean, you really hang your hat on certain things, but the way you're dressing things up and it really goes back to, who are the playmakers and who can we do that with? And I'm still learning that. We got Chris Long here. This is his first practice, and we're excited about him. And I love the tight end room. There's a whole bunch of guys. Getting Adam Jones, this is the first practice I've gotten to have with Adam. And getting to see that. And he and Julius, I think, are a great 1-2 punch. And so all those things really rely on our players and what they're capable of, and I'm still figuring that out too.
Any other guys than the ones you mentioned that have really stood out either in spring ball or just in
obviously Taco. I mean, he's a constant. He's a stud. Jacob Trimble is just a worker. I think Javante King, once he's fully cleared, I think he's got a chance to impact us. And Jordan Reed's pretty interesting, a 6'6" athlete that was playing quarterback. We moved him, and he had some limitations health-wise in the spring, but he's full go, and I love our O-line. I think we have an underrated O-line. We've got probably more starting experience than people realize, and it all starts with Titan Fleischman. I mean, he's an absolute stud for us.
Just going off that, I was going to ask who's kind of stepped up as a leader. I know it's the first practice, but I know that was a big emphasis of with how many seniors departed, guys stepping up in the leadership role.
Yeah, right back to Titan with that for sure. I could tell the second I met him that he was that type of guy for us. And so, I mean, he's probably the top guy with that, but then you get guys like Julius that have been in the program, his 3rd season now, and he's taken on more of that leadership role and finding the right way for him to lead, and then you want your quarterbacks, even though we don't have a starter, I want all those guys talking. I want them leading, so those are probably the main guys right now, that are being vocal. And I'm interested to see some of those guys that are really stepping into their own, up front on the O-line, seeing more than just Titan do that, but he's definitely the main guy right now.
In terms of the tight ends, I guess you mentioned playmakers. Anybody in that room that kind of stands out? I know it's kind of a mix of experience.
Yeah, I think it's a really good group. Hunter Provience is absolute stud. Rylan Schlepp's, he's played some minutes. I think he had 7 catches last year. I'd be shocked if he doesn't have a lot more than that. Rocky Lencioni is another local kid. I feel like Bozeman just puts out these tight ends. Really those are the main guys, and they're kind of interchangeable. I mean, as we dial it in, we'll probably have some specifics on what we do with each guy, but they're close enough where you can kind of just rotate them through the offense and keep finding out of what they can do. And I don't really see any limitations with those guys, but those are the main 3. And to me, to have 3 is a luxury. I mean, it's been a while since I've had 2. I'm used to moving linemen to tight end and doing different things and being creative, but we really have 3 guys that I think we can be pretty multiple with and be a problem with defenses with how they're going to have to prepare for us.
Yeah, I guess you mentioned luxury. I guess is that
Yeah.
both depth and scheme. I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think at some point we'll get to see some 13 personnel stuff, which is 1 back and 3 tight ends on the field, and what we can do with that. I don't have any specifics on that, but then just the depth aspect. If we are just playing 1 and knowing that we have other guys to put in there, and being able to move those guys around. I mean, people see tight ends on the field and they think they're going to be attached or right off the ball, but I think we can flex them out and do some different things and just be a problem for people.
Is a fullback or H-back on the table, or is that not?
Yeah, it'll breed from that group. I don't know that we have a true fullback, on the roster, but we'll do some fullback type things. So they'll kind of major in being a true Y on the ball, right off the ball tight end, but then minor in some fullback things.